everyone, welcome back to Touch the Fire Twice. I'm Joshua, and I'm here today to do a haul overview and kind of conversation video, a little bit left field from my typical videos that I do here on Touch the Fire Twice, but I'll get into that in a second. First, if you're new here, welcome. My mission here is to share my love and passion for fine home fragrance as an enthusiast, an educator, a reviewer, to inspire you to increase your own fragrance knowledge and understanding, ultimately enhancing the scent memories you create. If you want to learn more about what I do, why I do it, how I do it, you can check out my website at TouchTheFireTwice.com. But for now, let's get right into it. So, this video, as you could tell from the title and the thumbnail, is about HomeWorx by Slatkin Co. And I've got 8 candles here, a couple of dupes, because this video is going to be kind of 3 parts. It is a haul because there are some newly released fragrances from this year that I'm going to give my first impressions on that I've not yet burned. There is a new this year post-burn review candle. There is a returning classic post-burn review candle. And then there are 2 returning classics that I'm doing a comparison of this year's 2022 pour versus last year's 2021 pours, because I think there are some significant quality differences between the 2. So as you can see, it's a bit of a mishmash, but it's sort of a HomeWorx state of the union, if you will, from the Touch the Fire Twice, Joshua, my personal perspective. I want to start by saying a couple of things. First of all, I have such admiration for Harry Slatkin, for the teams that he's built over the years, from Slatkin Co to the partnership with Brands Bath & Body Works, to when they had the brief stint at Party Light, to Slatkin Co, HomeWorx, the QVC partnership with Kohl's, and as we've seen HomeWorx really explode into this huge masstige brand, which of course is the idea of bringing a prestige quality or experience to the mass marketplace, right? So that is HomeWorx sweet spot, where it's sort of a bit elevated above your Bath & Body Works, not quite at the cost or perhaps quality or demographic that Laura Slatkin, Harry's wife, focuses on with her incredibly successful Nest New York fragrance company. And HomeWorx, since the launch, has been very successful and has been one of my favorite brands. So I've been with HomeWorx from the jump, back when they launched on QVC in 2017. Early on, I even did receive some PR back when it was just a handful of folks receiving it, and it was kind of, HomeWorx was obviously going to be big because they were on QVC, but it was just a bit of a startup. They were just kind of getting the word out there. They were only available on QVC, and they went to some trusted reviewers that had been around for many years. So I did, on this channel and another channel, I did some early reviews for the first year or so, off and on, talking about the fragrances. I bought a ton, not as many as I have the past year or two as I've relaunched Touch the Fire Twice, but I purchased many and just fell in love with HomeWorx, not surprisingly, because Harry Slatkin's other brands, Slatkin Co, and of course the partnership for many years with Brands Bath & Body Works, White Burn Candle Company, really were incredible scents. And for me, Slatkin Co in many ways, and Harry Slatkin, is responsible for my big awakening into home fragrance. That always, if you look at my website and I talk about my history with scent and scent memory, I was always intrigued by and interested in scents and how it relates to the passage of time, and how sniffing something truly awakens memories and makes you feel like you're time traveling, because it sets you exactly back in a place, a moment, a space, a memory, whatever it may be. And so, but digging into the wide library of scents that Slatkin & Co had from, let's say, my experience 2009 to 2012-13 at Bath & Body Works, it really just allowed me to dig in and kind of learn what the world of home fragrance could look like. And I now have some classic, amazing scents and scent memories attached to those scents that I cherish. And so when HomeWorx came along as the relaunch of Harry doing a premier brand, I was super excited, loved it, have loved it, continue to love it, and hope that I'll be able to love it moving forward. However, I must say, as I'm coming to this again with nothing but admiration and respect, this is very respectfully, I hope that no one, including Harry, if he happens to see this video, does not misinterpret what I'm saying. Because as an enthusiast and a reviewer, I have to be very honest with myself, with you, the viewers, my peers, and the brands that I sometimes partner with, but most of the time just spend my own hard-earned money on sniffing and reviewing and sharing the passion for home fragrance with all of you. Long term, yeah, I would love to break into the industry somehow and make my passion into a career, as many folks do, with the ideal version is turning your passion into a career, right? But that doesn't mean that I'm going to sugarcoat things or, kind of only focus on the good. I also will not turn into ever one of those reviewers or creators that does rants or tries to get clicks or kind of goes off the rails or gets emotional, because end of day, let's be realistic and frank. These are any candle, even a $3 Walmart candle, is a luxury. In the world we're living in now, with the things going on around the globe, the cost of the world, and simply, beyond cost, the actual safety of people's human rights, any sort of time, effort, and money spent on burning a candle is a true luxury experience. Period, point blank, end of hard stop. And so for me, as a reviewer or an enthusiast, I always will look for the good, but I won't hide the negative, and I won't ignore the negative, because we all are supposed to get better. We should have a growth mindset. What does a growth mindset mean individually or in your career? It means you're going to try things, you're going to experiment, you're going to learn through trying things that you've never tried before, understanding that failure is an attempt at learning. You learn from it, you grow, and you're not limited by what you think you can do. You try, you reflect, you improve, and get that 1% better every day. That is how you have to live your life. You're not limited by your past experiences. You have to have that growth mindset. And so a brand certainly needs to have that growth mindset as well. And any brand, especially in this time period we're living in with supply chain issues and inflation and all of the wild things going on around us, is going to have a lot of potential failures and flops and misses and struggles to maintain a great experience for their brand, for their customers, and frankly for their employees, the folks that they need to retain in this job market, right? So I'm looking at this, or attempting to look at this, really from like a zoomed out 10,000 feet perspective of big picture. No one wants to have a crappy experience or a bad burn or a bad candle. That's no one's intention. No business person is going out there with that, because they know that it would be a flash in the pan and wouldn't last. So I know that the intentions behind, nearly all brands, but especially Slatkin Co, with Harry's name on it, I know the intentions are good. There's a shared passion there. So again, I very much want to honor that and respect that. But again, I'm seeing things as many reviewers and folks on, whether it's the HomeWorx Facebook group or Instagram or YouTube or TikTok. I'm not on Candle Talk. I'm sure there's a community over there. I've not gotten into that, at least yet. But a lot of folks are seeing, especially folks who've experienced the amazing time period of HomeWorx, the first couple of years, starting to experience things that just are like little things adding up where there's just quality misses. We talk about some of the candles that were on QVC where the label said CANDL without an E on the end. Does it matter? No. Does the label matter? Ultimately, no. But is that a miss on quality control? Is there some shortcut happening there, whether it's the home office or the factory, where that should have been caught? Yes. Do you want to give a gift that is missing the E? 80% of the people might not notice it, but that's not what I want to do. I want to pay for a really great experience, even if it is a $16 candle versus a $45 or $85 candle. You want that great experience. But there are enough little things like that where I don't want to say it concerns me as a consumer. It just bums me out because I love the brand. I want the brand to be successful for the folks who work hard on it, for the Slatkins, for the reviewers, for the fans, everyone who is excited by and has those scent memories associated with these candles, right? So that's my long intro. I'm going to get into this and talk about what's going to maybe seem like a gripe video in some ways, but it is, again, I always look for the good, but I do share both the good and the sometimes ugly truth. And so that is where I come from this. No shade, no disrespect, not trying to harsh anyone's buzz or yuck anyone's yum, as they sometimes say these days, but it's just my honest opinion, and I hope that it's seen as a positive critique at growth and learning and evolution. So let's first dig into the comparison, the 2022 to 2021 comparison, because these are the ones that for me felt, and I'm going on feelings here. There are some feelings involved, of course. When you're getting to scent memories and products, there are feelings involved. You have a connection, emotional attachment to the scent memory, therefore the scent, therefore the brand, and of course the person, right? Slatkin and all of the connection to the community that you have when you're a true enthusiast and brand cheerleader and promoter. And so these felt the most disappointing to me because they're just so drastic. So there were some throughout the past year where you'd get, either some wick issues or a candle just smelled pretty weak, but it was a new scent, and you thought, okay, maybe it'll get better on a second or third burn, or maybe if I have a hurricane, I make sure that I've got good airflow through my house with HVAC going, but not particularly drafty, because you don't want to cool down the candle or have a breeze that makes it burn uneven. All of those tweaks and things, I'm, I don't want to say expert, but like I know how to burn a candle after these 10 years of being intensely passionate about candles and home fragrance. And some of those, okay, you give a pass, but you're like, man, that seems like it doesn't have as much oil, or this is close to unscented, or man, this seems like it could be stronger. And it's a hit or miss, and there seems to be maybe some batch variation where some folks are like, no, this is strong, this is great. Of course, every nose is different, every environment is different, everyone's expectation is different. But when I'm comparing something that was the same fragrance, so I'm gonna do a comparison of Holiday Spice and White Birch, the pour from 2021 versus the pour from 2022, and they smell so different on cold before I even burn them. That to me is a big red flag of either cost-cutting measures, inflation proofing the materials by going to less expensive options and materials, or just quality control misses. So first let's dig into White Birch. So White Birch, this was launched, I want to say maybe even the very first collection of 2017, if not very shortly thereafter on QVC. This is your traditional White Birch. It's looked pretty much the same from day one. This is the nice, speaking of one of the potential cost-cutting or supply chain related changes, is we had these big heavy chrome lids. Everyone's talked about this ad nauseum. And then sometime early to mid 2022, switched to the much thinner kind of aluminum, matte brushed, lightweight, flimsier, lids. We've all seen, talked about that. People have made that, their feelings known on that. That may be what it is. It may change. Time will tell, right? So that was the initial difference on these. What's funny is I actually purchased both of these from HomeWorx.shop, now known as HomeWorxCandles.com, but HomeWorx.shop, the direct-to-consumer version, the e-com site for Slatkin Co's HomeWorx. And so this was purchased, I want to say it was probably mid-September, and I received it, and it was a pour from 2021, which you can tell right on the label here. F for I believe the factory code in Vietnam, followed by 21, meaning 2021. 0715 means July 15th, 2021. So we know this was poured in the factory July of 2021. And it smelled fantastic. The White Birch that I know and love, I've burned 3, 4, 5 of these over the years. It's that strong birch, the balsam, the crisp winter air, as the notes say. It's that fresh balsam, that truly botanical outdoor whoosh, that authentic, nothing added to it to make it the experience of sitting by your fire with, a little bit of an ember or maybe an eggnog. This is your outdoor walk in the woods, a snowy forest. And it's the most beautiful, astringent, green, birchy wood fragrance. Love it. So when I got it on .shop and it was a 2021 pour and with the old lid and smelled as strong as ever, I was like, great, next order, I'm gonna get another one. A week and a half later, I did another order where some of these candles, including Christmas Joy and Snowy Sleigh Ride, were part of. I got another White Birch, and it came with the, I don't want to say dreaded brush lid, but it came with the brush lid, which meant that it was a pour from 2022. And as you can see, same factory on there, I believe, the F for whatever factory that came from. I think it maybe say F or A, depending where it was poured. Not certain on that. But this one says 22, so 2022, 05, 10, so May 10th of 2022. A little messy, actually. There's some that's not on the jar, that's actually in the wax. Not the end of the world, probably happens all the time. If this were straight on there, I wouldn't see it, but it's a little off-center, as we've seen off-center labels and things. Label looks the same. The lid doesn't ultimately matter that much to me. I'm mostly experiencing this myself. I'm not often gifting the candles, so it's not the end of the world if it doesn't feel as elevated as it did a year ago. The issue with this one for me, now to be fair, I've not burned this. The issue, man oh man, is that the intensity, and in this case, even the quality of the scent is drastically different. The 2021 pour smells like the White Birch I've come to know and love since, again, 2017 or 2018. It is a good, let's say, 7 strength on cold, astringent green whoosh of outdoor air with the birchwood. When I sniff this one, it smells like a different scent. It truly smells like a different scent. Now, I know that sometimes they might not be able to get the exact same oil formulation or same brand of oils as they're, sourcing all these third party. They're not distilling these in the factory themselves. These are all sourced, I believe. And so sometimes maybe they're almost trying to recreate their own blend, which I think Harry has said before. But this one, misses the mark on the actual scent profile, let alone also the intensity. So the intensity on this on cold, for a strong, knock you down fragrance is probably a 2 or a 3 compared to an easy 7. Some folks would say 8, though I like a strong thrower, so for me it's a 7. And it smells like a different scent. It smells almost creamier, much softer. I mean, I'm really trying to get in there and rub the wax. This smells like, and I mean no disrespect, but I must be honest for myself and just because that's how I choose to live. This smells like an imitation of a HomeWorx candle. If 2 years ago, if I would have smelled these and they were, let's say, blind sniffing, in a different vessel, the same wax, I would say, oh, this is, and I mean no disrespect to Walmart or, some sort of truly mass market brand, but that's what I can think of, or IKEA, something that is, home fragrance is not their wheelhouse, but they sell them, right? I would think it's like, oh, this is supposed to be like the HomeWorx white birch scent, but it misses the mark because it's so weak and it doesn't smell like white birch. Does it smell bad? No. If someone was new to HomeWorx and they never smelled white birch, they might smell this and think, oh, this is a beautiful fragrance. A little light, I hope it burns well. That's what I see on the Facebook group. But it really just, it's like 60% is strong and maybe 50% the same notes being expressed. It's not as resinous, it's not as cooling, astringent, bright. It just smells dull, very dull. And that's disappointing to me. And what disappoints me further is that wasn't on a candle that was in that same shipment that did the same thing for me. What happened with Holiday Spice is the same story. So here's Holiday Spice that I purchased. I think this might have been QVC 2021. You can see on here 21/08/15, so August 15th, 2021, with that nice gold, still the heavy chrome gold lid. I did not burn this one because this was, I believe, a duo. I did burn another one last year. Holiday Spice, clementine, fir needle, clove, pomander, simmering spices. A warming spice that's sort of simmering on your stove if you're just doing some pomander and throwing some cinnamon in there and some cloves and just lightly simmering these mulling spices essentially through the home. Very much what you see on the label here, the star anise, the citrus, the pine cone to give you that concept of what's going on. A beautiful blend. Not particularly sharp, not particularly spicy, not your red cinnamon, but a true soft mulling spice with a beautiful, authentic pomander citrus in here. Probably let's say a 6 or 7, again, with this. This one came, so I thought, okay, well, I know that some other scents have been a little bit light this year, but Holiday Spice, White Birch, these are known scents. They're gonna come, they're gonna at least be the same. So if I stick with what I know, I won't have the disappointment that I had in some other candles, including one that I'll include in this haul here. And this one came in, same as the White Birch order. Pour date on this one, 22/509, so this was May 9th, 2022, so the next year. Came with the now standard thinner brushed metal silver lid, which admittedly doesn't look as upscale and festive as this bright, shiny gold lid. Like that really matches the label and looks really, really nice. This one's fine. Again, there are plenty of candle brands, high-end candle brands, don't even come with lids. But it's when you compare it to yourself, you always want to get better than yourself. You don't always want to compare yourself to others because there's always going to be someone who's faster, smarter, wealthier, more impressive than you. You can compare yourself to yourself in the past, and that's how you really compare how I improved and changed. And so comparing HomeWorx to HomeWorx, that's where there's an issue, and that's why I have a concern. I'm not trying to compare these to another brand even directly necessarily. The primary issue is not the lid. Let's smell it. I mean, this one, probably the same fragrance. Notes, hard to tell because it's so weak. It actually smells a little soapy. Notes, I'm assuming, notes on the bottom don't matter because they change with marketing. Clementine, fir needle, clove, pomander, and simmering spices. Yeah, so same notes, but duller, a little sweeter. I mean, this is like a 3 or 4. I really only get some of the spiciness from this, a bit of a creaminess, like both of these that are the dull versions in lid and in fragrance intensity and fragrance notes, actual blend, the scent itself. They're a little creamy, they're a little dull, as if like the base mixture that they're using is different and or the quality or quantity of fragrance oils are different. You know, we often hear from some brands saying we have the highest, not HomeWorx, but we have the highest fragrance load. We have 14 or 16% fragrance oils, or we have 12%. And of course, it depends on the wax, the vessel, the quality and type of fragrance oils you're using, what is actually acceptable and what turns into a strong throw or not. 14 might be great for some scents, and 10 is totally acceptable for others to give you the same feeling of intensity, right? However, there must be a reduction in this, which the mind goes to assuming it's cost cutting. Though I could be wrong, I'm not wrong in knowing that this is vastly inferior to the 2022 pour. And I haven't even burned it because obviously I'll want to burn my 2021 pour or older, knowing that they're stronger. I don't think these are cure issues. Some folks have said, oh, it needs to cure, it needs to sit for a while. Typically soy wax has to cure for a month or so. This is primarily, I believe, a paraffin vegetable wax blend. Maybe there's a bit of soy in there. Regardless, this was poured in May. We're talking now almost 7 months ago. Should not need a cure time. And I know I have a good enough scent memory that when I smelled this, you know, a few months after it was poured, it smelled pretty much spot on to what it smells like today. It wasn't like it smelled like this and then matured into this as if it's some fine wine, right? So weak, just kind of barely there, not exciting, and not worth $16.99 at TJ, HomeGood, Marshalls. And that is where it really bums me out. So the question is, what's going on? I really don't understand it. The brand has been fairly quiet on it. I know that Harry said in one live on Instagram maybe 3-4 weeks ago regarding the lids, he said, we're keeping our traditional lids. I'm not sure, quite honestly, if he meant we're going back to the bright, heavy metal chrome, or if he more was referencing folks who sometimes don't like the colored lids that are made the same thin material, but they're not the brushed metal. They either have like a bit of more of a plastic look to them, or the QVC Today's Special Value holiday ones, Christmas and July, had a different pattern on them and they weren't shiny because they were like a dull gold, the same thin metal. I don't know if he was referring to, don't worry, we'll keep the traditional silver metal, or if he meant we'll go back to the ones that folks loved. Again, I'm not dying on a hill for that because ultimately a lid is a lid. My concern is the burn quality that some folks are seeing and I have seen, but more than anything, it's the scent. The scent memories that this would create for someone would not be the same as the scent memories that would be created by this beautiful, healthily strong, masterfully blended and built fragrance. It's a long video. It's gonna be a long video. At this point, if you're watching, you are a HomeWorx fan, a Slatkin Co devotee like I am. And so there's 4 more I'm gonna get into. I won't go as long into those. My main focus was the 2021 to 2022, what is going on with HomeWorx? That's the question I ask. I don't necessarily deserve answers. A brand can say what they want, make changes what they want, and have the focus on selling a product. I get it. It is a business for a profit to be made, right? That is the focus of a business, is to turn a profit. But there's still questions that I'm asking because I feel like as someone who spends time, money, and effort on a home fragrance channel on YouTube for a passion project, of course I must ask those questions. 3 more I want to go through here. First, we'll start with a new scent, Snickerdoodle. This is from this year. It was poured July 4th. Notes freshly baked cookie, sugar crystals, cinnamon, and warm vanilla. It burned just fine. I got about halfway through. This is perhaps the most unscented HomeWorx candle I've ever experienced. My first one was maybe that apricot cobbler that came out maybe March of 2022 from a few years back, and it was so light I could barely smell it, and I thought, well, that's a little bit strange. And there's been some lighter ones over time. Mochaccino crumb cake was really nice, but was pretty light for me. It got to like a 4 or 5 eventually, but not HomeWorx intensity that I came to expect for the past 5 years. But sniffing this on cold, when it was lit, and now, I haven't done a review on this, and I won't because there's not much to review, to be frank. I love Snickerdoodles. They're perhaps my favorite cookie. That's hard to say because cookies are my favorite baked good, but Snickerdoodles, your traditional sugar cookie, a little cream of tartar in there helps get that tang and the crackle on top, a heavy dose of a really nice warming cinnamon with sugar. I love it. What's the notes say? This smells like almost nothing. I could smell burning wax when it was lit. I'm happy if anyone got it and had a scent, could smell something in here or say that it smells like Snickerdoodles or cookies. There is a vague sweetness. I couldn't call it a baked good. I don't smell cinnamon. A Snickerdoodle cookie should smell primarily of cinnamon. Cinnamon is an easy scent, even in those IKEA candles. Not great, but to get a strong cinnamon scent in there, there's nothing in here. Like, this one almost makes me angry because I truly wasted $20 on this, and there is literally 0.5 scent to this. I don't know how much fragrance oils are in here. It burns fine, so it should get them up in the air adequately. It's one of the better burns I've seen recently, but it smells basically like nothing. I have to throw it away. And that's not cool, because guess what? Someone saw the QVC shows and the segments and heard people talking about how amazing these candles are, which again, asterisk to everything, they usually are, they always had been, and hopefully they will continue to improve over time and get back to their former glory, if not better, because that's what we want to go, is always achieve for greatness. But somebody bought this, maybe in a TJ Maxx, as their first HomeWorx candle. And maybe they were like, oh, you know, they're not used to candles, so like, oh, it smells fine. They're not, you know, these critical fragrance thinkers like the folks who are on YouTube and in the candle community. But you know what? They would probably smell it and think, oh, that doesn't smell like much. Nah, I'll stick to nothing, or I'll stick to Yankee, or I'll stick to whatever other brand comes along at TJ Maxx. They won't have the brand loyalty that every brand wants. And that's a bummer, because this is supposed to be a great brand. Slatkin Co was one of the best through, you know, the 90s into the 2000s. They were so strong at fragrance. And so for someone to get that, have that be the first one, and then meh, that's where I want the brand to say, we don't want that to happen. And I hope that internally, behind closed doors, they are working on that, figuring it out, and they're owning it, because there needs to be ownership on quality when it changes, because it's not delivering what it used to deliver. Along those same lines, this is a Season's Greetings, one of my favorite scents, early launch 2017 back in the day. This was part of their early launch. And you may have seen my recent haul that had this in here back probably a month or two ago, because I was so excited to find it at TJ Maxx. It maybe didn't come out last year, I'm not certain. I think I got a duo of them actually earlier this summer, old stock probably on QVC. It had a darker wax. And then this one came out with the pour date of 2022, 06/06, so we're talking June, so close to 6 months ago. Smelled on cold, decently strong, pretty much the fragrance that I know and love, because it is such a beautiful indoor conceptual holiday party fragrance for me, because you've got the winter mint, the juniper sprig, the balsam, the red currant, just the true cohesive fine fragrance build. And it smelled pretty decent. It wasn't like the drop in intensity like I saw with the white birch for 2022 or the holiday spice for 2022. And for whatever reason, it had the old lid on it. No real rhyme or reason. But burning it burned very poorly. And it says probably 2 or 3 burns. This is a surprise, where the scent dropped to almost nothing once it was lit. So on cold, it smelled adequately strong. Maybe not a barn burner, but it was, a 6, something like that. Lit, probably a 3, maybe a 4. Got to be over it and whiffing and wafting it toward you to smell it, which is not what you want. And for a light colored wax, it had this issue that you typically see in some of the darker waxes, your Harvest Leaves, your Spooky Cider Lane, etc. But you can just see here, this was a full-on cliff where it just would not, it's a pretty thick chunk that it would not burn down, and then dragging wax down the side. Now, if there's some of this, I'm okay with that. A lot of different wax blends, especially soy, will have kind of I don't want to call it a dirty burn, but like a dirty vessel where it just kind of sticks and hangs along, because it takes a lot to really get it fully pulled, because it is a denser, molecularly denser wax. This one, I don't know if that's the case, but just not a great burn when it comes to quality. You don't want to see your candle looking like that. After being in a hurricane for 2 to 4 hours, again, draft free, good airflow, decent burn as far as the wicks were okay, but that's just poor quality and poor scent. So that's another sort of what's going on. So there's not even, where it gets tough is, there's not even a rhyme or reason. You can't say, oh, stick away from the X lids, or only go with returning favorite scents because they haven't been tweaked. It's kind of a mixed bag across the board, which I'll follow up on in a second. Then we've got 2 new scents. I was excited about both, and not to be harbinger of bad news or, a sour Sally, but I'm not a fan of either one of these. I will burn them, so I can't speak to the intensity when burning. I think these are scents that some people seem to be loving. Others are middle of the road on. I'm a middle of the road to dislike on these, which is fine. You buy them, blind, just go on the notes. That's the risk you take, and I'm willing to take it. I've done it with hundreds of HomeWorx candles, and usually it's a good thing. First one is Christmas Joy. So really fun. It's going to be conceptual. It's just got, Christmas balls will just try to evoke a memory, a mood, a feeling, not a scent itself. But the notes, sparkling orange, holiday spice blend, cranberry, and blue spruce. So there are many fragrances out there that have sort of similar builds. Most brands, you think of the holiday fragrance with Nest, some similar types of notes in there. You've got a citrus, you've got a spice, you've got a bit of a fruit from your cranberry. Sometimes it'll be an apple, but in the case of cranberry, and your spruce, you've got your pine. So you have a pine, a fruit, a spice, and a citrus, which is a fruit, but specifically citrus. And sniffing it, its intensity is fine. I'd say it's probably a good 6 or 7. I don't get all the notes in there. So if I were doing a master som test, a blind sniff and test for wine, but for candles, I would probably grab 2 of these notes and maybe add a few others, but I wouldn't pick them all out, which is a bit disappointing. For me, this smells like artificially sweet, almost like a children's bubble bath or bubble gum. Like a candy. It smells like a candy. Not candied orange, but an actual candy. Almost maybe like gumdrops, where you've got that bag of gumdrops where they're that gooey, hard, sort of gelatinized gummy candy covered in hard crystallized sugar. And they kind of all smell the same, taste different, but you've got some black licorice in there, and you've got some peppermint in there, and you got a spearmint in there, and maybe you have a cherry and a lemon and a lime and an orange, but they kind of all end up, a couple of those scents kind of dominate the rest. And this is really, if they called this spice gumdrop, that would actually make more sense to me. I wouldn't like it more necessarily, but that would seem more authentic because it smells to me like a sugared candy, intensely fruity sweet. Not specifically citrus, a bit of spice, but the same way that you get some, cinnamon gummies in your spice gumdrops and some anise or licorice gumdrops in there. That's the kind of spice I get in here. As far as spruce, I don't really get much of the spruce. When I was thinking, orange and spices, some pomander and cranberry to make it a little bit cool, but still a sweetness and a very winter fruit. And then blue spruce, which sometimes is kind of astringent and almost animalic musky. Not at all what I was expecting. And again, to me, it just comes off like candy, maybe holiday candy, gumdrops, or again, like a bubble gum or even sort of a spicy, minty bubble bath. So not a fan of that. Burn quality, I don't know. I don't know that I'm gonna burn that one. There are too many candles I love to burn that one. And then the final one, Snowy Sleigh Ride. I was so excited for this. Beautiful scene. There's 2 labels out there, beautiful scene. And I was really excited for the notes and just the idea of Snowy Sleigh Ride. Your mind is immediately transported, before you even sniff it, to the idea of what this candle is going to be. And I know there are some folks who love this. I think Melanie, Mr. Kong's mom, I believe even put it in her gift guide for 5 candles she would recommend. And I wish I could say the same, but I'm not a fan of it. Notes, blue spruce, snow-covered woods, pine sap, and winter air. Right up my alley. Give me as many wood conceptuals, some air, some snow, some sap, some resin, some branches, some leaves, some twigs, some dirt. I'll take it all, mix it up. There's, 50 candles of those combinations in my collection, let alone at market. Sniffing this one, it might be better burning. Intensity is fine. I mean, lower than a classic HomeWorx, probably a 4 to 5 on cold, because I really got to sniff deep. For me, where it misses the mark, again, this is only on cold, so don't take, this is not the final word on it necessarily. Well, I will say this. Taking the lid off, removing these, and just getting my nose in here, now it's like a 3. It really is, the fragrance load in here must be low. So I got to get a read on it, to give a review, I really need to put this back on and do this. To me, it just smells, again, it doesn't smell like an elevated masterful blend. Maybe it is, and there's just not enough oils to smell it. It's almost like smelling perfume on someone at the end of a day versus when it's, an hour in and perfect expression of the fragrance. But a little woody, to me, it smells, this is surprising to me because a lot of times people say that pine or woods smells either pine solly or like a cleaner to them. And I'm not usually in that camp. Like very rarely do lemons smell like cleaner. Very rarely do pines or evergreens smell like cleaner to me. This kind of smells like an inexpensive cleaner, I'm not trying to be disrespectful. Not even Pine Sol, because Pine Sol is strong. It actually has pine oil in it, I believe, or at least used to. Knock you down. It smells like a Dollar Tree version of Pine Sol called something else, like a Fabuloso or something. All that to say, I get a cleaner scent from this one. So I can't speak to the burn. I can speak to the intensity being on the light end, especially for something that has spruce and sap and woods and winter air, which are usually powerhouse notes. So I don't know if I'll burn it or not. I may gift it if someone sniffs it and they say, oh my gosh, I love that. Great, I hope you love it. And if you do, that's wonderful because someone should love it. I just don't. Thank you for sticking around if you've been here for this long video. I say this from a place of admiration, respect, and honesty. I'm not trying to rag on any person or any brand or even people who may disagree with me or love this. Okay, great, I'm glad. I'm happy if you're happy for you. But I just have to be honest. Again, it feels so, zoom out, it feels so silly to making a 40-minute video about the quality of a fragrance brand. But you know what? It's my passion and I'm passionate about it. And I guess this is one of the ways that the passion comes out. So not to go on and on, but I just want to make sure that for anyone who has stuck around this long, first of all, thank you. Let me know your thoughts, your opinions. If Harry or anyone from the HomeWorx team is watching or has watched this far, again, I don't say this to knock your brand, to hurt your sales or your reputation, because again, I have nothing but admiration and respect and love for the brand and the fragrances and the products that Slatkin Co has built over the years. And I'm confident that the things that are issues here that are real issues can be corrected. I just would love to see some true ownership and explanation of it. Or, let HomeWorx be what it is and be the mass market versus mass Tige and sit in the TJ Maxx, the Home Goods, the Marshalls. And in that case, bring us Slatkin Co. Bring a true Slatkin by Slatkin Co. And let it be that truly elevated, let's say Nest level, or even one up, Laura, go higher. A truly elevated, beautiful, perfect, in-house developed wax and wicks and fragrances with the master perfumers, of course, but the highest quality. I want Slatkin by Slatkin Co to be like Nest or be like Loft Co or some of these other brands that just get it right more often than they get it wrong, because every brand's gonna have wrong moments. But I really want to see HomeWorx become what it was in the past, or let it be what it is, which is good enough, and then bring us that, again, I'm calling it in my head Slatkin by Slatkin Co, just the idealized, best version of home fragrance. And let it be expensive. Things are expensive. Those of us who want that will purchase, have no fear. So that is the video. Thank you for sticking around. Would love to hear any opinions, agree, disagree, somewhere in the middle. Thank you as always for watching. Let me know which fragrances you have that you love, ones that I haven't tried yet maybe that I should give a shot to. Always happy to do that. Still will purchase. I'm just being a little more cautious now and not doing as many of the blind buys because I don't want to get a stack of 3 or 4 or 5 candles that I'm just kind of disinterested in, which was the case with a couple of these. So hoping that the next season will be stronger and better. And until next time, take care.